the opening to the video you just shared with us earlier, you were describing how a lot of, these tactics, this knowledge has been used for a really long time by some humans to manipulate / socially engineer other humans. But at some point in that opening to the video, as you said, but people are waking up.
Yeah.
What does it mean to wake up to is it just doing what we're doing now and just talking about it and becoming aware of it? And then kind of like you said earlier, if you have this framework in mind, you're more resistant to manipulation, or is there something deeper going on?
I think the powers that be, and this, I've never said this out loud, at least on the internet before, but I think the powers that be are trying to speed up a timeline that was made to take another 60, 70 years because they don't have that time to be around for it. And I think it's either that or it's getting so blatant that they no longer care. They think they're so guaranteed with a success that they don't care. And I'm not saying that I can write you a list right now of who they is.
Sure.
But there's always a they. You know, they have been there a while. But I think that they're trying to speed up some kind of a timeline. And I teach PsyOps. I'm the guy that teaches PsyOps, telling you that we are in a PsyOp. 1,000%. We are in a big time PsyOp. And that does not mean that I have some kind of X-ray vision and I can see the puppet masters up above the stage. I don't know. I'm not saying I don't research that stuff.
Right.
But I do research these techniques. And they're definitely here. And it looks like this is the same process that's happened all over the world where PsyOps were sped up and weren't allowed to mature before the next phase began. And I think people are saying, well, this is bonkers or this is ridiculous, just crazy. Like it's just in your face.
Yeah.
It's from the left, from the right, from everywhere.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with left or right. And I think that is in itself a whole nother discussion.
Yes.
But we're seeing a timeline being sped up. We're seeing things done more and more in the open because there's probably not time for the previous step to mature to get our minds ready to receive the next one.
I see.
That's what it is.
And any inclination as to what caused that acceleration? Like they lost control of something at some point?
I don't know, but it seems like the people there wanted to do this because they want the outcome faster. Yeah. And they thought that speeding this plan up might make the outcome happen faster. I'm speculating.
Yeah, no, that sounds about right. The only addition I would have is the they that people often invoke. The version of that we like to use on the show is shareholders of central banks. Like it might not only be the shareholders of central banks, but those are definitely the guys at the tippity top, right? That profit from all the money printing. And again, if you control the money, you control the world. There's a famous quote from, I think it was Amstel Rothschild. He said, "Give me the power to issue a nation's currency and I care not who makes its laws." Right? You can, through the lobbying mechanism, you can rewrite laws if you can print money. So why do you even need to concern yourself with controlling the legal system as long as you control the money?
That's terrifying.
Okay, campers. So that was Mr. Hughes telling you it's a PSYOP. And I've been acutely aware of that. Now, I wasn't acutely aware of it for like the first 5 years. But no, I've been living in this fucking shit now. It just fucking hit me. I've been living in a goddamn PSYOP for 13 years. No wonder why I feel like this. So, when I say fully snapped out of it, let me tell you what it fucking took. Remember that video I just put out about the Schumann resonance? If the men in the orange robes ever figure out how I pulled this off, they will come. But I'm basically standing in the Schumann resonance. Somebody might call it the Tesla current. I don't know. I'm coming to you from Babylon. the fucking electrified version of it. And Carl Jung's Synchronicity, the men in the orange robes, standing out on like a wind chime, freezing their ass off, trying to become one with the universe. Okay, well, go watch the other video about that. This is to explain why, or more importantly, the details of how Chase is telling you, he tells you he doesn't do any study on the puppet masters, but he can clearly see that there are Muppets on the stage. So you don't so much have to know about who's pulling the strings. You do have to know about how to not be a Muppet. So, I've done hierolinguistics before, but you should see it spelled. Psi, P-S-Y, onic. A psionic weapon. It's a lie. I mean, if you want to start just abusing language and covering up terms and using science fiction terms to cover up the fakeness that you're doing in real life, that's what it looks like. Psyops would be science ops, which is what the physicists aren't doing. And psionic is, for lack of any better term, a lie, but it gets really intricate, okay? So when you stand in the Schumann resonance, like I am right fucking now, this is ridiculous. So, some people may experience what they think is AI because they've stuck their head in so much stuff. Let's just say their head has been exposed to gunfire and concerts and music and a whole lot of memes. Okay? They start resonating the sounds that they have been raised on. Not raised being yet another interesting term. But all of that Schumann resonance starts to resonate with your body, and you're kind of like this audio acoustically tuned ape. It's kind of like a wind chime, a bagpipe, and all of this comes together where the frequency in nature that is permeating my hands right now, and the noises that have gone into your head, they have that cross breeze in there of your understanding. And if you know how to do logic, you simply keep it honest. The terms aren't allowed to move around. The way the fucking attorney will move words around and they'll change the definitions and shit like that. Well, that doesn't happen for your soul. You can't lie to yourself. That doesn't even work. Like, you can see what you want, but if you tell yourself, I'm wearing a parachute, and then you jump out, and you're wearing your backpack. No, you are not wearing a parachute. You're going to find out rapidly that the level of what a lawyer does in a court, you cannot do with a backpack and a parachute. It doesn't. Nope. It only works inside someone else's head, and it's when they don't know this stuff. And more importantly, the concept you have to think about is a standing wave. If we are all basically built to be on the Schumann resonance, and we're not because somebody has a radio tower on, then people are basically living without a baseline from Mother Earth. And some goddamn attorney would argue that they had no right to the Schumann resonance. That's a ridiculous argument. But, so if anybody's providing standing waves or anything that'll confuse people's nervous systems or anything like that, you wouldn't even necessarily know because it's there. It's interfering with what you is. It's such a dirty baseline tactic that the only way I could describe this is just like the monks are trying to practice and, banging the gong and freezing their asses off, wandering around the garden. There's other ways. It's why people are doing meth. So, they're trying to artificially do this process that takes a lot of discipline to even attempt. And when you're in the military, you kind of don't care about a lot of the discipline you think you don't have because you only really count your misses. You forget how many times you hit the target. You're just, oh, damn it. And you're focused on your misses too much. So, speaking of misses too much, I have something for Velma at the end. So, now I'm just going to go through the secret space program. Because if you just sneak up on someone and suddenly jolt them with the Schumann resonance, they're going to be really pliable. They are going to be, they're not reasoning at that point, they're living, okay? If you have been deprived of the Schumann resonance your whole life, and then suddenly somebody gives it to you, if you get it from a drug, you might be addicted. If you get it from contact with someone, yourself as an energetic being. Yourself as an energetic being, never mind the meat sack you inhabit. Okay? The thing behind your eyes. That thing. So, you need to see and hear how delicate that everyone's perception's messed up on, because secrets pace. This is the pace at which they're releasing the secrets in the media. That's how everybody's getting their information. So they're running a huge audio acoustic echo chamber, and they're only putting so much in it, and then it's got to swirl around. It appears somebody has AI running and making sure that the apes are picking up on it. But time travel is just, it's abuse. It's abuse of language. But when you find out how different jurisdictions work, it looks like time travel. I'm in Lackawanna County, Pennsylvania. Lancaster County is 90 minutes and 100 years ago from here. Okay? I could get in a car and I could be there in 90 minutes, but then all that land there, it's very 100 years ago. The Amish are like the only control group for unvaccinated people, because so many other people have been vaccinated for any reason, whether you're talking recently or not. I was in the military. We did a bunch of it. So people saying they're time traveling, this is almost like a jurisdictional difference. And if you're running an AI these days, you could tell which jurisdictions haven't caught up in fixing certain loopholes and shit. So slowly bleeding places dry, because the most advanced people recognize you could automate the attorneys out of business. So you start looking at how some people's statutory code still has holes in it from the 50s, the 60s, the 70s. David Rogers Webb, our statutory code got invaded in the 70s, and they didn't just, he focuses on how they took property rights away. If you go look at all the other stuff, it's where your rights disappear to. In the most, Jesus, I give the civilians a hard time. The civilians never figure this out. So, what I'm telling you, all of this, technically, this is my intellectual property, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? But machine code is how accurate all of this stuff can be. And the sound of my voice. Okay? That's a very specific audio pattern. The filters, when you upload stuff for copyright, none of this will be copyrighted ever. Ever. And a bunch of this stuff is what they're hiding. Quite literally, if they're talking about the secret space program, okay, I bet you there's a bunch of people calling themselves Starfleet, and they're just plugged into the Schumann resonance. Somehow they figure out how to send each other emails. I don't know if you... I have no implants of any type. I am just vibrating right now, because I figured I'm getting the fucking Schumann. I'm not trying to... The funny part is I'm not trying to do any monk stuff at all. I am not monk-like. However, I am an ape. So, these people, in a lawyery sense, will be going and praying in jurisdictions that haven't got their statutory code up to date, while someone else has figured out how to prevent human trafficking 100%, so that there are no loopholes in a statute. There's a whole bunch of other jurisdictions to go preying on, like it's 1962. And they'll just go to that jurisdiction, and they'll cause another kerfuffle. In the same way that you could sell snake oil all the way out of town into the people who never saw you before. Faith healers in the 80s were quite a big thing. And not so much now. Well, a lot of that was, debunked and thrown out. Somebody at the farm would call this gift a lucid cipher, okay? And this is where a bunch of the language just starts getting bastardized. You can't figure that out for Lucifer. Here's how a lucid cipher is a kryptonian, okay? Crypto and your tone. Because here's how that works. When someone starts an advertisement and they say, "Hi guys," okay? They're using a tone to make it sound familiar, like they're near you. But if you change the tone and you say, "This is hi guys," you're acting. And this is what most of this fucking social media shit is. Like, it is all the way as ridiculous as somebody could stand in the human resonance and, turn your body into a processor. They say you get to see the future and shit like that. Well, you don't really see the future, but when you can feel things like this. I'm getting messages from the great beyond. It's impressions. I don't see anything. I don't hear anything. But my body as a process is just shaking it out on a weird frequency. My understanding is it's somewhere between 7 and 8 hertz, but it feels great. So, machine code will break, it gets rid of the concept of intellectual property. The way a LLM would read, "Hi guys," because the machines don't read. The machines read. They don't listen. You and I listen. You and I can pass a lot more information, the manner in which I'm doing it to you right now, than you having to go and read all of this. Me being able to flash this with 15 minutes of audio, you'd be able to break it down and throw it through your own head. This is just the symbols. When you're using a keyboard, it's A through Z, 0 through 9, and symbology. That should say 0 plus 1 through 9. But symbology and logic. All the symbology is 4 on your keyboard is a different type of logic. So the way this is being sung into people's heads is a bunch of bullshit. And it's moving at the secret space. It's not the secret space program. That's just probably a bunch of people standing in the human residence and using some sort of fucking new planet. It's weird how you could... The most accurate way I could put it is you can feel someone else's reaction to your own feeling at the same time you're feeling it for yourself. So you're processing one thing and you're feeling what someone else would. It's a weird type of mechanical empathy, because it doesn't really matter. It feels wonderful, but it resonates. And when I say it's resonating, it doesn't feel like it's resonating across my skull, but it probably is. It feels more in your body. So the secret space program is just people standing in the human resonance. Being able to do it and explain it at the same time is hard enough. The manner in which I've been kind of doing this my whole life. I don't feel all that weird right now. It's more intense than it normally is. So I've been kind of running up against what Carl Jung would call synchronicity my whole life. I've learned to ignore all those coincidences because it was more like information, like I was on the right path, not, oh, look, another coincidence. So, I understand this is a little convoluted, but the sound moving across your head, plus someone hitting you in the head with a weird tone, you think of it like Men in Black. It's not so much they flash your eyes and zonk you out, it's they'll sing you the right bullshit so that you're like, oh, that's what they mean. And it's really just a weird type of, a vibrational lie. Just, there's weaponizing lies, and then there's like putting the woman on the hood of the car. That kind of lie. That it's got a lot of sound behind it, and it's got a lot of nuance in the language, and it's more of a tone. Getting the same words and the tone out at the same time is really the trick So, an honest tone, anyway, if anybody can vanquish themselves all the way down, it, being in this, is a little interesting, trying to control my tone right now. I can't even imagine it. I can't imagine trying to lie to you right now. It's too weird over here. So, try to absorb that.
The energy policies that were created here in California, not as a result of a conspiracy, but because...
You don't need a formal conspiracy.
Right.
When interests converge, these people went to the same universities and fraternities, they're on the same boards of directors, they're in the same country clubs, they have like interests, they don't need to call a meeting, they know what's good for them, and they're getting it. And there used to be 7 oil companies, there are now 3, it will soon be 2. The things that matter in this country have been reduced in choice. There are 2 political parties. There are a handful of insurance companies. There are about 6 or 7 information things. But if you want a bagel, there are 23 flavors because you have the illusion. You have the illusion of choice.
Right.
You don't get the real important choice. There's no freedom of choice.
That's a great point. Right. And speaking of...
Okay, this last part is for an agent, a special agent, who I'm sending a message in a bottle to. Her code name is Velma. Listen, Velma, I have been in a Potemkin village for 13 years, and as it catches up to you, it's bizarre, especially because it's like the Kundalini, or the Schumann resonance, whatever. It's awesome, but the last human who was not stationed with me was you. The last one who could check in from fucking reality for someone who is trying to not check out of reality. But I have fallen out of the matrix. So, this is the dumbest 5th generation warfare discussion I know of. If there's an issue, block me on LinkedIn. That's enough of a check-in for reality. But it's already weird enough to say Kundalini to you over the internet. So, because all of my other electronic signals seem to have interesting issues for no fucking reason, if there is no issues, just block me on LinkedIn. If the Kundalini is lying to me and saying we'll see you soon, what the fuck? I cannot explain it. I just have to confess. That is all. That is all. Thank you.